national coal strike didn't happen over pit closures in Wales, and it didn't happen over a closure in Scotland. So what's different this time? The answer lies in the pit where the strike started, at a South Yorkshire colliery called Cortonwood. On March the 1st, the coal board announced the pit would close in 5 weeks' time. There was coal left underground, 5 years' supply, but the coal board said it was too dear to mine. The Yorkshire miners went on strike. The coal, they said, must be mined even at a loss. TVI has been to Cortonwood to see how a local issue became so important. Did the coal board provoke the strike when it suited them, through the spring and summer? Or did the miners' leaders seize upon Cortonwood as the issue before there was time to debate whether it was really the issue? This report by David Bellin.
Morning assembly for the next generation who want a living out of coal.
Good morning, everybody.
At the opposite end of the village, the dads are on picket duty, personally convinced that this is their Alamo. Arthur Scargill, their Davy Crockett, Ian McGregor, the hated Mexican who killed him.
Let's sing the hymn number 126.
Cortonwood Colliery is the pit, Brampton the pit village. Now there's a double irony. The pit has run into the red, the comprehensives run out of pupils. Both face closure.
It'd be a massive blow, and I would describe it as being a double blow. Our own school was told some 2 years ago that in 1985, this particular comprehensive school will close. And I see that decision as a kind of tearing of the heart out of the community. This school has been here for 300 years. And then a month or so ago, the main employer of this particular area was told that that was to close. And I see that as a kind of chopping off of the hand, the working hand within the community.
Miners nationally may be divided, but this village is united. United by a determination to mine every last ton of their coal, and now by the hardship a strike causes. Hey, Upwood.
Hey, mate.
Just one hour, love. We're going to have to cut down our cocklaners with...
Or is it getting bad?
Oh, it's bad now.
Yeah.
We've had to send video back. Telly's next, I know. We're going to have to send Telly back because licence is due.
Why are you managing for food and that?
Well, we're getting £15 a week on gyro and that's it.
I got what are you having, bread and jam?
Ah, most of the time, Yorkshire is Britain's largest mining area. South Yorkshire, the Scargill heartlands. Between Barnsley and Doncaster lies the Silkstone Seam. At its centre, with 5 years of work left, Cortonwood Colliery. The Yorkshire NUM already had a plan to fight pit closures on economic grounds. But they didn't have a cause until March the 1st at a quarterly coalfield review.
Well, I heard from the director. The director announced it. He said at the review meeting that in 4 weeks' time he would close Cortonwood. Not because he'd been instructed to close it, but he'd been instructed to take out capacity, and he decided that Cortonwood were the best way, in his view, of doing that.
What was your immediate reaction?
Well, I mean, well, shattered.
To the coal board, the vast stockpile at Cortonwood symbolises lower sales and mounting losses. They wanted to stop mining and mothball the pit, equipment intact, while they went through agreed appeals procedures for pit closures. For the normally moderate miners of Cortonwood, it was too much.
Oh, it was amazing. As I said, it was a feeling of stunned disbelief for a day or two. Obviously, because of the news the way it was broken, with a fantastic meeting, with a branch meeting. Normally you can count them on one hand, but with well over 500 at a branch meeting on the Sunday after the news was given. And the decision was a unanimous one, that Corton would immediately take strike action. And following that, I was given a mandate to go to the Yorkshire Area Council and ask for the total support of all the Yorkshire area, and this I got.
But why did this Yorkshire strike spread when South Wales were forced to give in and Scotland didn't even achieve a coalfield strike over a closure there.
Well, I think that's because Yorkshire's bigger, and obviously Yorkshire area have had a decision for a long time that if, since 1981, we got 86% in a ballot vote that we would take action if they closed the pit on economic grounds. And it were blatantly explained to us, we could be under no misapprehension. This is an economic closure.
It was a sudden, if not hasty, decision. Some miners from nearby Elsica, which closed because it ran out of coal, had been transferred to Cortonwood only 3 weeks before. Keith Woods invested £70 in a new bike to get to his new pit. His earlier move from steel to coal hasn't proved as successful as Ian McGregor's switch at the top. Redundant from his steelworks 4 years ago, he was lucky to get a colliery job. But 20 years Mr. McGregor's junior, his future is again uncertain.
Well, we were told about 4 to 5 years, but that was unofficial, like, that was just what was told between men, like.
And that would have seen you out?
Definitely, it had seen me somewhat near to what I call a retiring age.
How do you feel about possibly having to retire now at, what, 52?
I don't fancy prospects of having to retire at an early age like that.
It doesn't appeal at all?
Not at all, not one.
And there's little prospect of another job?
Well, around here there's no prospects. Prospects around here lies entirely with NCB, and if they close Cortonwood colliery as well, there's just no prospects whatsoever, especially at my age, 52.
Hey up, lads, we brought you some sandwiches.
Yours, big
Yeah, I'll get tucked into them. Nicely, mate. Put them in, Bob, 5 minutes.
The NUM believed that without a strike, Cortonwood would have closed this week. But the Pickets' fight to exclude economics from closure arguments has found little support at Nottingham's super pits.
All we want from Nottingham miners is their support in this fight, that's all.
I feel sorry for them in a way, because when it comes to them, they'll realise the feeling that we feel now. It's all right, they're on big bonuses now. They're buying them now. When the bonus and the coal goes, what have they got left? Nothing.
The coal seam at Cortonwood is buried almost half a mile deep. The economy of the area has depended on the quality of its coking coal. A century of mining has eaten into the seam in all directions. Modernisation and mechanisation doubled the speed at which coal was extracted. The furthest face is 3.5 miles away from the shaft. 1.4 million tonnes of coal are left. But it's at the extreme limits of the pit, and the best of it could be mined more cheaply from the pit next door. South Yorkshire Area Director George Hayes was the man who decided to close Cortonwood because it was losing too much money and the area was mining too much coal. He didn't disguise his reasoning when he met union leaders on March the 1st for the coalfield review.
The coal is too expensive. It's cost us over £60 a tonne to produce, and we only get £47 a tonne sale. The other is that in the long-term strategy of the area, that pit cannot fit. It is dying anyway. It would go in 5 years if it was worked to the bitter end. It was the obvious place to close to fit into a sensible policy for this area. At Cortonwood Colliery, we have just over 800 men employed. In the South Yorkshire area in total, I have more than 850 men, in excess of 55. Now that means, on the closure of Cortonwood, that I can transfer 600 young men to other collieries. These are very, very capable chaps who have been trained, fully trained, allow the older men at 55 plus to go. And the match in the transfer of Cortonwood is absolutely first class. It meets the union's stated requirement of ceasing work at 55.
Miners' suspicions are based on coal reserves. In other words, if there was to be a strike, this was a good time for the coal board. The Cortonwood closure was announced 5 days before vital talks in London on national pit closure policy.
Nottingham will not be getting paid in the near future.
Tensions were already running high because South Yorkshire was on strike over a separate issue. Few doubt the move was cleared by the NCB chairman or his deputy. Well, why do you think it's nonsense to close Cortonwood? Because it's only got 5 years at most left in it anyway.
Well, I think basically the argument is the economic argument that the board are using. They're saying that it's not economic to mine, yet it seems ludicrous that the amount of investment that's gone into it in the last 7 years or so to open out the reserves, the final reserves that are left, it seems silly to us that they should just forget it and put the lid on.
Do you accept that they can't sell the coal?
Not at all. I think that it's the easiest thing in business. If one wants to not sell a product, then one doesn't market it.
On Saturday, Cortonwood miners will tackle a team from the Nottinghamshire coalfield. There they can earn £50 a day in bonus. Here, they're lucky to add £5 a week to basic rates. Take-home pay rarely tops £90. Around the ground, every household has problems. What sort of pressures have been on Cortonwood since the strike began?
Well, obviously, we've had everybody and their granny coming to see us, with the world's press, all the media. I think it's to be expected. Because we've started it off, we're in that position where we've started the fight and we've got to carry it on. And, of course, everybody's coming and asking us what the story is, why we've taken the decisions. Obviously, because we are the first. It could have happened to anybody, but it's happened to us.
Dawn at Strike HQ.
Now, we tried new methods this morning. As you know, we're setting off a little bit later. And I want you all to listen clearly to this, and that is, I want us to be successful.
Cortonwood miners have been regular flying pickets. At night time, it's hard to slip through police cordons unnoticed. Tactics are changing.
We go through the park, go up at cattle grid, get at far end, and we stop and turn left there, and we went back entrance.
Right.
But we didn't get picked up at all. That's the best way to go.
Well,
Is go through that park.
Fair enough. That's
the best way to go through that park.
By avoiding police, that's the idea. Is we don't want no trouble with police. So our method is try and avoid them, try and get to the pits, and ask us members to come out and support us. You know your routes, you know which way you're going to go. All I can say is best of luck, lads, and get through and get the message home.
In daylight, in more motorway traffic, and on more minor roads, they hope that at least some will get through.
I think these Nottinghamshire miners have all got frilly knickers on myself. The only reason that 90% of his mates that were going to work, because the wives were making them. Oh, when we got there yesterday morning, one of Maggie's bootlickers there, one of her MPs, and he wanted us out of the area, but he didn't manage it. We're going to take the next left.
Their destination, Thoresby Colliery, one of the mines that hasn't stopped work.
B6407, that. No, that's down here. Clearly, 6407.
Doubling back on B roads, accidentally sometimes, deliberately others, they get through the outer cordons and make it to within half a mile of the pit.
That's the main road there. Go left on the main road.
That's what we went on.
Yeah. Go left here, though.
Hey, we're going to have a police escort. Just coming out now.
Go down it, please.
Yeah, go down the back room.
I can put it down.
Just put into that lay-by, the bus lay-by.
Right, Al.
Right, mate. Got one out, lads. Army escort. The police now. 10,000 bobbies, no registration number there, you know.
No, not on me.
The nearer the pit, the more intense the police activity.
Whereabouts you from?
Where we come from?
Yeah.
I'm from Brampton.
Where?
Brampton,
Brampton.
Cortonwood bloods.
We got a choice here. We either turn you around and escort you back, or the driver gets arrested.
Why is this, mate? What we're getting arrested for?
To prevent a breach of the peace happening at the picket line. And what's your address, Bill?
Number 12.
Yeah.
Norbeck Crescent.
Norbeck?
Yeah, KN. I'm at present Brampton.
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 The choice was stark, the decision simple: turn around.
What's this for me?
Right, if you just want to swing it round.
Turn your car around, 3-point it, put it behind this one, then you'll be escorted.
Mission unaccomplished, it was back to Cortonwood. Five weeks ago, few there would have predicted that they would be the focus of the miners' fight. So who really decided to close Cortonwood?
Well, without doubt, I made that decision. Mr. McGregor and the National Board set my targets for the year. Output. After great consideration of the market situation, I had to produce 7.1 million tonnes. I know the pits in my area. I know the capabilities. I understand the longer-term requirements of what we can do. So it was my decision to close Cortonwood.
Do you accept that, however innocently, by trying to shortcut the closure procedures, you may have sparked off the strike?
Well, I must repeat, I didn't attempt to shortcut the procedure. In fact, I insisted that the procedure would be followed.
There has been no procedures. It has been done unilaterally by the South Yorkshire area director, and that is the crux of it. If we let them get away with this one, let's be honest, if they got away with this one, what price anybody? It's no use anybody thinking they're safe, because after all, we were told with 5 years, and we got 5 weeks' notice.
A local row has exploded into a shadowy battle between the government and the miners, NCB and NUM, McGregor and Scargill. The winner will decide if Cortonwood should ever reopen. From the picket line, Graham Yeats has been to a special social security office to convince them that he's not getting strike pay.
How'd it go, Graham?
No joy at all. I've made inquiries about the £15. I've told them that we weren't getting the £15. We haven't got a strike fund on the NUM. They're assuming that we are being paid it, and it's being deducted as such. They say due to government legislation, so it is a matter of law. Lads, just been up to Clifton Hall this morning. I've been making inquiries about this £15.
Back on the picket line, attitudes are heartening, and while the strike continues, Area Director George Hayes is denied direct talks with the Cortonwood men. Letters to their homes offering new jobs for old for the young and redundancy for over 55s have had little impact.
We all know NUM doesn't have a strike fund. We've never had one, so that's lost money. The government, yeah. As far as government's concerned, it's just another way to bring you down. Strike break and...
in other words, they're trying to starve us.
Exactly, starve you out.
These men have been without overtime for 19 weeks and on strike for 5. Nobody knows how much further the coal strike will spread, which way a ballot would go. Like it or not, it has become a national issue. Can you see a way out?
Well, at the end of the day, there can be no other way, only round the table. The miners, at the end of the day, will realise that common sense must prevail. And furthermore, our customers will determine the size of this industry. And if present actions are giving our customers confidence, then I must be a madman.
If the Cortonwood closure was lifted, would it stop the strike?
I don't think it would stop the strike, because now it's not just about Cortonwood. It's now about the board talking realistically to the union about all miners' jobs. We need to have a realistic plan. We can't close pits. I mean, it's part of the nation's wealth. Don't belong to us. It belongs to you and everybody else. And if you let that go, you'll regret it.
It's a battle in which the coal board cannot hope to make inroads into the hearts and minds of Cortonwood, where husbands and jobs come before hardship.
If you call Social Security living, then we're managing. But apart from that, no.
No luxuries?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Are the wives still right behind their husband?
Definitely, all the way.
You're still right behind your husband, then?
Yes. His decision's mine.
Where's it all going to end, do you think?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it can only end in one way. We feel that short-term policies must not give way to long-term benefits, where it is a fact that if this colliery closed now, with something in the region of about 1.4 million tonnes of coal underground, it's lost forever.
Wouldn't your lads be better off going to better pits than standing and fighting here?
Well, that's a hypothetical question, because let's be honest on that one. When the pit colliery is exhausted in 5 years' time, lads will go to other pits, but who can say that they're better or whatever? Because our experience shows that don't matter how safe you think you might go. We've had lads sent from Elsica told they've got 5 years' work at Cortonwood, and it's just not come true. So there is no security, there's no feeling of security within the membership.
The spectre of the showdown at Cortonwood, scavenging for coal on an abandoned slag heap. To miners, coal is too precious to abandon. To the coal board, it's too expensive to mine at Cortonwood. But in solving that wider issue, Cortonwood must be solved too. All agree it cannot be mined much longer. The question is how it closes and when.
Well, at the end of the day, peace has to be made. We've seen since Mr. Scargill became president of the NUM that he's been most loath to take part in many of the consultations between the union and the industry. And I think because this is now in such bad odour that when peace does return to the coalfields, both the coal board and the union have got to start looking at new methods of consultation, possibly new ways of approaching the whole colliery closure business, and far greater cooperation. Cooperation might sound old-fashioned or hackneyed, but cooperation on the lines of the Joe Gormley and Derek Ezra era.